Everybody, coming back to you live from right here at the Virgin Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. Getting things settled in for day 5, round number 5 here at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, but coming off of a great round 4 last night, Sunday night. Again, the bright lights were bright there in the Thomas and Mack, and I'm sitting here right next to one of the lights that might have been brighter than anybody else over this last weekend. And folks, so get ready to get into another great conversation with another fantastic rodeo athlete. But today, our episode is going to be brought to you by Cupid Hay Company. So if you are new to Cupid Hay Company, haven't heard about Cupid Hay Company, fantastic people, a fantastic product that can travel anywhere. You can purchase it whether you're in New York, Southern California, and provide great feed for any and every one of your animal athletes as well. And so make sure to look into Cupid Hay Company, cubit.com. They're just great folks to deal with, and highly recommend checking them out for all of your horses, even some of your cattle needs with Cupid Hay Company. But without further ado, let's get into the guests. Like I said, it's been one of the brightest lights in all of Las Vegas over the last couple nights. Right now, it's number 3 in the world. This is none other than Kincaide Henry. Kincaide,
how's it going? My man? Good. How are you?
Doing good, man. Thank you so much for being here with me today and just kind of catching up and chatting about your year, your week so far, and getting to fill us in a little bit about tie down. Yes, like I said, we're chatting offline, and here live on Equus television, a lot of these viewers, real, polo, dressage, hunter jumper, that sort of thing. And
yes, sir.
And from an equestrian standpoint, and one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on here today, and we'll kind of get right into it, I guess, is talking about your animal athlete, right? And and Mario's his name.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yep. So when you're looking at all the different disciplines with inside Western sports, equestrian sports, tie down roping is very specific when it comes to the animal athlete and what they're having to accomplish in ensuring that you have success. So if you could give us a little bit of indication on what makes a successful tie down roping horse, and what about Mario has helped you get to where you are now?
Yes, sir. No, I mean, it's so hard to find that horse that fits you. I've looked my entire career for another horse just like Mario that might be a little younger, a little sounder or whatever. But in the calf roping, you have to have a great horse. And, on the equine side, it's hard for a horse. We're on them whenever we throw, but then whenever we step off, we're going to tie the calf. So the horse has to be able to pull, and then he's got to be able to keep the rope tight and stuff like that. So it's very hard to find that horse that fits you.
Yep. And then there's a communication barrier going on as well, right? So like on a certain run, whether maybe you got to fight a calf that's fighting it kind of tough or whatnot, but is there, there's a communication barrier too, right? When you're on the other end of that line sometimes and they might need to adjust or whatnot. I mean, that takes a whole nother level of communication and training with that horse, I believe.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's the hard part is whenever you leave that horse, the horse is on their own. So the horse has to kind of know what to do, how hard to pull, if he has to you don't want him to lean forward or come forward. The whole time you want him backing up, but you also don't want him to drag that calf because you're trying to tie the calf. So, there's a reason the horses are so expensive, and I'm just very blessed that I got a good one.
Nice. And how long have you been riding him?
I bought him in the fall of 2021. So all 4 NFRs I made have been on him. He's been hurt off and on, but I've got to ride him, a little bit each year that I made NFR. Like this year, I only rode him at 12 rodeos, and I won a little over 100,000 on them just at 12 rodeos. Man. And I mean, I finished the year with 180,000.
Yeah.
So like 110 of it came riding him at only 12 rodeos. Like
that's saying a lot.
That's how special he is, and I'm very blessed to have him.
Yeah, absolutely. I myself, renouncing, and I've done obviously a ton of rodeos and stuff. Had the opportunity to do a lot of trippings as well and stuff. And I just, that communication between the roper and the horse and what's going on. Like I said, when you leave the horse, I just have always admired that, and when it comes to, rodeo and all the different disciplines and that sort of thing, when it comes to tie down, for a lot of folks that might not have ever seen it, or maybe only seen it a couple of times, like I said, didn't announce it or whatnot, try to explain it to folks is, one of those situations where there's multiple moving parts going on, all with inside an 8-second run that they might not see, or the athleticism that it comes from the roper themselves, right? You know, you're not just sitting in the saddle, you're having to dismount, run that line, then throw the calf, then tie the calf. You know, tell us a little bit about that and all those different nuances from an actual tie down perspective and how it differentiates from some of the others.
Yes, sir. The first thing is the start, and that's the barrier. So every start is different for us at each rodeo, each calf, it changes. Here at the NFR, it's short. Like, you don't have to stay in the box a long time. Like, it's not like Cheyenne where you're sitting in the box waiting for the calf to walk all the way out there. Yeah. Here, it's fast. Pretty much the gate's open and you can go. And hopefully your calf leaves. But so especially here, the most important part, like I said, is the start. And then, yeah, you have to rope the calf, handle your slack. Like, our goal every time is to keep the calf on their feet in the switch. Like, so after we rope the calf, we pull on the rope to take the jerk away from the calf, to keep the calf on their feet. And then,
gotcha.
Yes, sir. And then after that, it's you flank them in time.
Yeah, you know. There. Yeah.
I think that's the fun part.
Yeah, for sure. I know we got you some maybe doing a few power cleans or what.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Get that calf down. But that's just it, man, is there's so much athleticism going in to the tie down event as well, you know, and it kind of leads me into one of the things that I really admire about yourself, and where I think that you're kind of a phenom in a sense, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you know, you look at a lot of the other events too, and a lot of things could be God-given, but when it comes to tie down and all those different nuances that we're talking about, it takes a while to master this craft, right?
Yes,
there's very few people that just, you know, come out, get their permit, next thing you know, they're going to the NFR before they're 20 years old. You know, you're only 23 years old, you've already been to 4 different NFRs. I mean, that's not the norm.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
So is there something specific that you attribute that to, and your upbringing or the way you got trained early on?
I don't know. You know, like, it was whenever I turned 18, like you said, I got my permit, and I went to 2 rodeos, and I won one and placed at one. And I was like, man, this is easy. I'm getting my card. And I bought my card. And so this was 2020. And I got my butt whooped all year, which I bought my card, went to 1 rodeo, and it was a small one, but I won it. And I'm like, I'm making NFR this year. Like, this is simple. And COVID hit after the 1 rodeo. So we had like a 2-month break, and then everything started back up in July, which it was still different. A bunch of rodeos were canceled and stuff. And I got my butt whooped all year that year. I didn't even get close to making the NFR, but like, I just feel like it was good for me. Like, even though I didn't make the NFR or win the Rookie of the Year, like, it was good for me to go ahead and get my card to learn all the stuff you have to learn in the summer whenever you're rodeoing.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty mentally difficult on you, I guess, you know, whenever you've never left your house and you leave your house for 3 months, you go up north, you rodeo, you're getting your butt whooped, you know, you're losing. You have to learn how to lose to be able how to win. And
that's a good way to put it.
I've had a lot of people tell me, like, I should have stayed on my permit for a year, and the next year I could have won the Rookie of the Year and all that. But, you know, I look at it as in 2020, whenever I bought my card, you know, I learned how to lose that year. And then in 2021, I felt like I was ready to win. And I still had to learn how to lose more in 21. I think I finished 18th in 21. But, you know, it's
knocking on the door.
I was closer, you know, I was closer. And then in 22, we got it done.
Yeah. And then, boy, you haven't looked back since, right? It seems
That's
like
right.
Every single year just gotten better and better. And you know, leading up to right now, right? You know, so on a Saturday night, you jump out your 7.3 to take, you know, second in the round, and then follow that ride up last night in round 4 to be 7 flat and win the round. You know, so things are rolling in your favor right now, and for good reason, you know. So, you know, you've had a fantastic year and all the different things. I'm curious to ask you a few attributes about the year, but But right now, I mean, headed over to the South Point and claiming that round win and things like that. I mean, that had to feel pretty good, especially where you're positioned right now in the world standings.
Yes, sir. I mean, it was awesome, and I knew I just needed one run. Like in the summer, whenever we're going, you have slumps every year, and what I keep in my mind is one run can change everything. I say one run can change my life.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the mindset. Is I just need that one good calf, that one good run, and then it seems like everything rolls. And I didn't have a great NFR last year, so this year coming in, I was a little late on the start the first round. The second round, my calf kicked up, so I felt like the third round, whenever I placed second, was like that was my breakthrough. Like the monkey was off my back, and now I'm just excited for every night, I feel like. And, I'm just excited for the next 6 rounds.
Yeah, no, for sure. Cause it's, sitting now, I grew up in a bull riding family and whatnot, but every single year, one of my favorite parts of the night is the tie down, because you start to see guys like yourself, right? You went from 7-3 to 7 flat, and you think back of, the duels between Cody and Fred Whitfield, and then just all the different, Joe Beavers of the world, when they got that momentum rolling in a 10-day period, when you have the same horse, the same arena, basically exact same time that night, you start to, it's like they start rolling downhill, and those times just get faster and faster. And so I hope that is exactly what's going to happen for you over the next 6 nights now, and work our way towards round 10. But, so you've had a great year, a couple of big wins, a couple of big checks. You had major success at Houston. But, got a chance to chat with Justin Schaefer the other day about it too, because he was in a similar situation. But I'd like to get your perspective on the Governor's Cup. Another big win for you this year, so you're coming in to the national finals, feeling pretty good and having a big time win like that. But, the Governor's Cup of the last few years has really made itself a great little niche, right? Where, for those guys, maybe they're on the bubble or vice versa, or even yourself, being in the number 6 spot, then catapulting you all the way to number 3. What is that Governor's Cup, one, like as an event, but how important is it now from a rodeo athlete perspective, being there towards the end of the year and qualifying for it?
Yes, sir. It's huge for us. Like it doesn't matter if you're 30th in the world, or like you said, you're 6th and you're trying to get closer to number 1. You have to be at Sioux Falls, and for us, it's a different qualification. So the 60 biggest rodeos of the year are called tours, and the Governor's Cup it starts at Puyallup. Puyallup takes the top 24 from the tour standings. So it's how you've done at the biggest ones. And then from there, they take 4 out of Puyallup, and then the top 8 from the standings to Sioux Falls. So, it just all year you have to make your schedule around the tour events. And I mean, it's awesome for us to get to go compete for that much money the last weekend of the year. Like, it's huge for us. I think this was the 3rd year they've had it. And the first year they had it, I made the Final 4, and I think Shad was 7-1 right in front of me, and I was last out, and I was 7 flat, and the calf kicked up. I knew this year I wanted to go back and get the win there, and to be able to do that and get the momentum rolling all the way into the fall, it's huge for us.
Yeah, it just, one, now, I kind of understanding that a little bit better too, man. Puyallup's got a heavy load too. It's awfully important to do well there for sure.
Yes, sir, for sure. And I'll be honest, I've had heck at Puyallup every year, it seems like, but one of these years it's gonna turn around. I'm gonna do good at Puyallup too, but it seems like I always have heck over there. So I really have to make sure I have enough points to get in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, no doubt. So, because it's just really interesting to watch it, and then you put yourself, obviously you're secured and locked in to make it here, but anybody from, let's say, 14 to 18 or whatever the number is, right? But for those guys, there's a few perspectives where they were inside the top 15 and then they had to sit at home and watch those guys that were breathing down their neck, have that opportunity. And, just from a sports perspective, it really can make a big swing,
for
one
sure.
way or the other for a guy. And so that's why I wanted to make sure and ask. And man, what a great win at a great event like that coming into the NFR, And so, looking at the field of tie down ropers now too, from top to bottom, I mean, it is extremely talented. It just seems to get better and better and faster, and Riley and Shad and yourself, I mean, have really set a standard when it comes to the tie down roping. And so, when you look at the success that you've had at a Governor's Cup or Houston and some of the others, winning one Greeley, I believe the year before, and some of these bright big rodeos, but does that competition drive you, and kind of feed off of these bright lights? How do you enjoy the Thomas and Mack?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like whenever we was kids, what you said, we got to watch Fred and Cody and Joe and all the way up to Tuff and Smith and all them. Like we grew up watching them do what we're doing now, and I rope, so I came in third, so Shad and Webb are behind me whenever we rope. So every night I know I just have to go at them as hard as I can because I got two of the best dudes in the world behind me, and the last two nights after I roped, I was winning it. But you walk right there and it's like, you got Shad and Webb behind you. Yeah. You don't even want to loosen your horse up. But, I mean, it's awesome to know, what the competition level is, what the standard is. And, I mean, it's cool to get to compete against these guys. And I love it. Like, I want Shad and Riley and Haven and Dylan and Blood, everybody. I want them to time as fast as they can time. And I want to go out there and beat them. That's the goal.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the greatest things about our sport too. Is obviously it's highly competitive, but there's that meme or whatever going around. Those guys, cheering on the back of the buck and shoot. You know what I mean? That's the kind of friends you want to surround yourself with.
Yes, sir.
And that's one of the greatest things about the sport of rodeo, without question. It might even be at the very top.
Yes,
that camaraderie and the. When you're going up and down the road, especially roping and dealing, having to haul horses and stuff, and the extra work that you have to put in, but building that rodeo family is really a true statement.
Yes, sir. And I mean, I think a part of that is how humbling our sport is. Like, whenever you're here, it's Vegas, you're having fun, you're roping, whatever. But we rodeo all winter, but then, like I said, whenever we leave home and probably the last week of May, the first week of June, we're gone for 4 months. Like, you're going to have droughts, you're going to have times where you're not winning, and this is the most humbling sport ever. So, you have to have those people around you to help you, and it seems like everybody helps each other, and it's just, I love it. I love the sport we're in, and I love where it's going.
Yeah, no doubt. So when you look at the sport that we're in and where it's been and where it's going, one of the barriers, I think, from other equestrian lovers, right, is picking up a rope, learning how to use that rope and building that confidence and putting in that time there. How did it start for you? Did you come from a rodeo family, or when did you start roping? And if there's somebody watching here that maybe is a great horseman or woman, but would be interested in getting into roping, how would you go about it?
Yes, sir. So I actually grew up, whenever I was young, all I did was rope. Like, I grew up with a rope in my hand. We'd be at baseball games with my older brother, and I'd be the kid running around with the rope. So, I grew up like that, and I actually quit roping probably whenever I was about 7 or 8, and then I started back whenever I was about 13. So, I see a lot of kids these days that are 10, 11 years old. They're tying the calves in 11, 12 seconds, and the parents come up to me and they're all worried, and they're like, what do we got to do? What do we got to do? And I try and tell them, like, I wasn't even roping when I was that kid's age, and like, you have to love it is the first thing. Like, I tell all the parents, your kid has to love the sport, and if they love the sport, they're going to put in the work. So I mean, for me, it's just, if you don't love this, it's, anything in life, if you want to be successful at it, I feel like you have to love it. And the number one thing I tell the parents and the kids and all that is, the kid has to love calf roping.
Yeah.
And if they love it, they work hard, they trust God, everything else is going to work out.
Yeah, for
yes,
sure.
sir.
And I think going back to, not just loving the actual, 10-second run that they're in, but to your point, the business side of things, being on the road, I mean, it's a grind.
Yes, sir.
It is a grind. And putting in that experience, not just the repetitions of the rope in your hand, but, learning how to travel and the business side of things. I mean, that's something that, it's its own art and its own self too,
Oh, for sure. Yes, sir.
Watching guys like yourself, manage that, handle it at such a young age is awfully impressive, to have that piece of it, kind of dialed in already.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, you still got 6 nights and a great opportunity to, continue to chip away and close the gap there, so hopefully, come Saturday night, you do have a gold buckle, but when it comes to the future of this sport and yourself and where you'd see it going and stuff like that, I mean, any specific goals, or anything that you really have strived for other than, I mean, obviously a world title,
yes,
but,
sir.
But I guess, as far as where the sport is going, right, tie down is a little bit different in a couple of ways. It's not as accessible as if you will, as team roping, but they've done some really great things with like the match ropings and stuff like that. But, where do you see the sport itself going?
I mean, it's only getting better. Like every year, even from whenever I started, it's getting better and better. There's more money just the rodeos in itself, just the money they've added this past year is insane. Like we don't even go to one that doesn't add 10, 12,000 an event now, and to be able to say that, like that's huge for us.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Whenever I started, I'd go to them if they added 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. It didn't matter. I was going. And now it's, they've got to add 10 or 12 to make it account. So it's huge. And the stuff they're adding, like San Diego and the Hondo Rodeo, the match ropings and all that, that's just more opportunities for us to win more money. And I think the sport of calf roping is the best it's ever been, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, no doubt. So I appreciate you bringing it up too, because like the Hondo, you just had some success there, and the growth of the sport of rodeo in itself, and they're now, in April going to be, headed down to New Orleans and playing in the big stadium there. And so what was that like, being in that large of a venue with that crowd and everything else, I mean, that had to feel pretty good to jump out and win that one.
Oh, it was cool. Yeah, it was over there in Arizona. And, I mean, I said earlier, from foul pole to foul pole,
yeah,
the stands were packed. I think they said it was like 38,000 people. It's probably the most people I've ever competed in front of. And, I mean, it was electric. And, just for the guys putting on the Hondo and stuff like that and being able to get the added money, the concerts after, all that, all that's doing is helping the sport. And to be able to compete there, and I didn't have much luck the first 2 rounds, but I had some luck in the last round. And I mean, it's fun to be a part of it right now, because like I said, I mean, they keep adding more and more stuff, more and more rodeos, more and more money, and it's only going up from here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think, you could say the same thing about yourself, man. I mean, like we talked about, I know that you're awfully kind, humble young man or whatnot, but to be a 4-time, national finals rodeo qualifier, 23 years old, coming off a second, a first, this week's just getting warmed up. It's only Monday right now.
For sure.
It's time to go to work.
Yes, sir.
Those first 4 rounds were just for fun and to get the process started. So, man, Kincaide, I really appreciate you stopping in and chatting with us for a little bit, and these folks here at Equus Television watching us, hopefully around the world or whatnot, to give them an insight of, of one of our disciplines, one of our events or whatnot, that people need to take a little bit more time to understand, right?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
to
sir.
go through that. So I sure do appreciate you doing that.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
thank you so much. But folks, like I said, I mean, it doesn't get much better than this young man right here when you're talking about the future of rodeo and how bright it absolutely is. And at 23 years old, you're going to have an opportunity to watch him over the next 10, 15 plus years, and most likely a few gold buckles before all is said and done, and quite possibly one, 6 days from now. So make sure to tune in tonight, round number 5. Kincaide coming off of a round 4 win at 7 flat. It's time to get sub 7, right? We talked about getting those 6-second mark, and we'll be looking really good. But thank you all so much again for joining the Woodshed with Cody Wood on the Equus Radio Network. Thank you once again to Cupid Hay Company for bringing you today's episode. And folks, y'all have a great Monday. Let's fire it up. It's round 5 of the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo.